Morning.
Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Vande Guru Parampara Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saviryam Karunavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastु Vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. So finally we have completed the 9th chapter. So we have completed 50% of the Gita. Okay, that is good news. Does anybody remember when we started BG5?
Yes, I think February 21.
February 21. So that's 3 years.
Yes,
More than 3 years.
7th February 2021. I
So
have
it has
it.
taken us 3 years to complete 50%. And you can safely say another 3 years to complete the remaining 50%. So that is 6 years. Okay. And those of you who will stick on, I'm sure most of you will stick on. By that time, you would have a very, very excellent understanding of Vedanta.
17th of January. 17th January, we started with the introduction. And
okay, so that's almost
7th February, Adhyay first.
Okay.
First chapter.
That's great. So 3.5 years almost. So another 3.5 years, 7 years. Okay. But 7 years is okay, because I studied SPG's Bhashyam. And do you know how long it took? 14 years. SPG completed Bhashyam. So we are doing it half the time. Of course, we are not doing it the way he does with all the grammar explanations and all that, because it's not relevant for us. His Bhashyam was addressed to Sanskrit students. And therefore, he went into details about derivations, etymologies and all that. We don't do that. So we have completed 7 years, 9 chapters. And hopefully in 7 years' time, that is 3.5 more years, 2027. If the Lord gives me that much prarabdha, okay? Because my warranty is expired long ago. Now it's only running on His grace.
All of us, Acharya, we don't know our prarabdha.
You don't know what's the guarantee.
Yes. Okay, so here in this, now today we begin the 10th chapter, and in this chapter, Shankara introduces the chapter by saying that in the 7th and 9th chapter, the Vibhuti, the glories of Bhagavan have been talked about, right? So he's saying this already been told. What are the glories of Ishvara have already been told. But he says, Durvigneyatvat, because it is extremely difficult to understand the Lord. Therefore, that idea of what the Lord really is being stated again. And then he says something very specific. He says, Yeshu bhaveshu chintayah Bhagavan. Right? Teshu bhaveshu. That's Yeshu bhava means in whichever manner Bhagavan should be chintayaha, meditated upon, contemplated upon, that is being tete bhavaha vyaktavyaha. Those methods, those ideas on which you should contemplate on Bhagavan, on which you should meditate upon Bhagavan, those are being now reiterated. Okay. So until now, we were all struggling with the Jnana Yoga part of it. We have spent a lot of time trying to understand the Jnanam. The next 2 chapters are basically Upasana kind of chapters. They are talking about meditation, right? So both the chapters, 10 and 11, not too much of Jnanam is there. I'm not saying no Jnanam is there. Not too much of Jnanam is there. But you will find that most of the ideas are meant for meditating. And what is the idea of meditating upon the glories of Ishvara? Because in all our daily functions, some people will find that they have some amount of talent. They have some greatness, as it is called. We say people are great, right? So they have some greatness. And the idea here is that whenever you are meditating upon Ishvara and you come across some amount of talent in you, remember that talent, it doesn't belong to us. It belongs to Ishvara only. It diminishes the ahankara. And as you know, what is the difference between Jiva and Ishvara? It is the ahankara only. The Jiva who has ahankara, the I thought, that Jiva is different from Ishvara because the I thought makes him finite. Right? Now, for example, supposing, because all of you are in Vedanta, all of you are reasonably intelligent people. Without intelligence, you wouldn't be there in this class. And Viveka Buddhi is one of the highest qualities, highest accomplishments of a human being. Right? Viveka Buddhi is one of the highest accomplishments of a human being. But if you are very intelligent, the idea here is that meditate upon the Vivekaha part of Ishvara. Ishvara is Viveka itself in full measure. And therefore, I should not take any pride in the fact that I am intelligent. My intelligence should be an appreciation of the intelligence principle which Ishvara is. Right? And therefore, this chapter is very important because it reveals in totality the meaning of the word Aham Brahmasmi. Everything that is there is Ishvara alone. Right? And this is a very important chapter for a seeker. And therefore, it's important for us to really understand what Krishna is saying. So with this, we'll start the chapter. So please unmute yourself and we will chant the first verse. अथ दशमोऽध्यायः
अथ
दशमोऽध्यायः
विभूतियोगः
विभूतियोगः
श्रीभगवानुवाच
श्रीभगवानुवाच
भूय एव महाबाहो
भूय एव महाबाहो
शृणु मे परमं वचः
शृणु मे
परमं वचः
यत्तेऽहं प्रीयमाणाय
यत्तेऽहं
वक्ष्यामि हितकाम्यया
वक्ष्यामि हितकाम्यया
First, just the word meanings. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. I suppose I don't need to explain that, right? Hey Mahabaho, O Arjuna, whose arms are very strong, who has very strong arms. Bhuya evaha shrunuhu. Bhuya eva shrunuhu. Bhuyaha, once again, eva shrunu, may you listen. To what? Me paramam vachaha. Now remember, the me in Sanskrit is different from the me in Hindi. The me in Sanskrit means mine or mine. So me paramam vachaha. May you listen again to my paramam vachaha, to my supreme words. Why should you listen? Yat aham vakshyami, which I am saying, te hita kamyaya. Te is again a Hindi word, but te in Sanskrit is different from te in Hindi. Te in Sanskrit means you or yours. So te yat aham vakshyami. Those supreme words I am telling. For what purpose? Te, yours, hita kamyaya, with a desire that it be beneficial to you. Hita kamyaya. Kamyaya is desire. Kama, hita is benefit. So, bhuya eva shunu me paramam vachaha yat aham vakshyami te heta kamyaya. May you listen once again to these very glorious supreme words, which I am telling you for your own benefit. Right? And why am I telling you? Priyamanaya. Because you are the person who is happy to hear my words. Priyamanaya. You are delighted to hear my words. What is the difference between this chapter and the earlier chapters? Arjuna has not asked a question here. Right? So, Krishna is, the English word I think is suo moto, without any motive from the other person, volunteering this information. And therefore, he says, Priyamanaya, you are a person who are happy with my words because you are, what is the idea? That only a real disciple hangs on to every word of the Acharya. And therefore, he is showing interest. And Krishna is saying, had you not shown interest, I would not have taught you at all, because this teaching is not supposed to be taught to somebody who has no interest in it. And not only that, hita kamyaya, the teaching is beneficial for you for moksha. The teacher doesn't really benefit from his own teaching, right? We do say that teaching is a good form of nididhyasanam, but if you exclude that, if you say that a teacher is a very advanced Vedantic who doesn't need nididhyasanam anymore, who's a jnana nishtha, because nididhyasanam is necessary only up to jnana nishtha, and a good acharya is supposed to be shrotriya jnana nishtha. So once jnana nishtha is there, then the teacher doesn't need the teaching. There is no benefit for the teacher, and therefore the benefit is only for the student. And Krishna says this earlier, where Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana. I have nothing to accomplish in the universe. Right? He has said. And therefore, because you are a good student, because you are hanging on to my words, and because I know that you can get moksha, I am going to teach you more. Okay. Now we look at the next verse. Please unmute yourself. We will chat. Name vidussuraganaha
न मे
विदुसुरगणाः
prabhavam न महर्षयः
प्रभवं
प्रभवं
महर्षयः
महर्षयः
अहमादिर्हि देवानाम्
अहमादिर्देवानां
देवानां
महर्षीणां च सर्वशः
महर्षीणां
महर्षीणां
सर्वशः
सर्वशः
Okay. So, again word meanings. Na suraganaha, neither the gods, na maharshayaha, nor the great maharishis, me prabhavam viduhu. Prabhavam is origin, birth. Viduhu is to know. Me is mine. Me prabhavam viduhu are aware of my origin. So you have to say Suraganaha Maharshayaha, the gods and the great sages, na me prabhavam viduhu, are not aware of my origin. Why? Aham adihi, because I have no origin. I am the original cause. The cause without a cause is that I am. And therefore nobody can know of my origin. And therefore, Devanam cha Maharshinam Sarvashaha. So that's an interesting addition. I am the causeless cause, and Sarvashaha Devanam cha Maharshinam Adihi. I am the very origin of all the gods and of all the Maharishis. Therefore, how can the gods and the Maharishis know about me? Because I am the cause of their origin. The product can never know anything about the Karanam, the origin of the Karanam. Okay. So, what is going to be talked about is the Ishvara Vibhuti, glories of Ishvara, right? So he says, Suraganaha me prabhavam na viduhu. The gods do not know of my glory. And what is Suraganaha? So Shankara thinks we are going to be confused. So Shankara says Suraganaha is equal to Brahmadihi, or Brahmadayaha, which means gods like Lord Brahmaji, etc. So starting from Lord Brahmaji, which means Hiranyagarbha, and the other gods, Shankara says nobody knows the complete glory of Ishvara, because Ishvara is Antaryami, and Antaryami is the Karanam for Hiranyagarbha. Therefore, how can Hiranyagarbha know Antaryami? And Hiranyagarbha is the Karanam for all the other gods. How can any god know Hiranyagarbha? So nobody knows the Ishvara. And Maharshayaha apina viduhu. Even the great rishis do not know my glory. And Maharshaya means Bhrigu Adya. That is Bhrigvadayaha means Bhrigu, etc. So Bhrigu is one of the Prajapatis. He's not an ordinary rishi. He's a Prajapati. And you will find that in different texts, you will have different number of Prajapatis. In some texts, 7, in some texts, 10. So we just, they are not reconcilable. So we just leave it at that, because ultimately they are all anatma only. And what is Prabhavam? Prabhavam literally means the origin, right? Why does Ishvara say they don't know about my origin? Is he not saying that I have an origin? So that creates a creation, right? Creates confusion. Therefore, Shankara says Prabhavam is equal to Prabhu Shaktihi Atishayam. Atishayam Prabhu Shaktihi, the infinite strength of the Prabhu, infinite glory of Bhagavad, the infinite power of the Creator. That is what is being called by Prabhavam, not his origin, right? Okay. How is Srishti created? What is the mode of creation? So we saw one in Tattvabodha. Okay, but when you look at Shastra, when you study Upanishads, there are very many types of creation talked about. So there is something called Yugapat. Yugapat literally means simultaneous. So Yugapat Srishti means it's a theory which talks about everything emerging simultaneously from Bhagavan. Suddenly everything comes into being. The entire world, the entire jivas, everything comes into being. Okay? Entire sun, planet, galaxies, everything are born instantaneously. That is one theory of creation. It is called Yugapat Srishti. Okay. Then there is another thing which we have seen. From Maya comes Sukshma Panchabhutani, called the Tanmatras. From Tanmatras, what happens? Panchikaranam happens. Then comes Thula Panchabhutani, and Srishti is born. Okay. That is one theory. Then there is another theory where Hiranyagarbha is the firstborn, and then Hiranyagarbha, that is Lord Brahmaji, he creates the rest of it. So there are many theories. But here what is the essence to be understood, that whichever way, whichever theory you accept as the mode of creation, remember that I am the origin of everything. That is the only takeaway. You can accept whichever theory of creation you want. Yogapat, you can accept. Tattvabodha theory, you can accept. Hiranyagarbha, first theory, you can accept. No problem. But just the takeaway is what? I am the origin itself. And what do these devas, devatas, Hiranyagarbhaji and all, what they don't know? Aham Adihi. Because I am the cause of the devas, including Lord Brahmaji. How can Brahmaji talk about my glory? Because they themselves don't know. So I am the Karanam for everybody, including Brahmaji and all the rishis also. Okay. Now remember that the word Adi has another meaning. What is that?
Anadi.
Adi means beginning. Okay. Adi means beginning. But Shankara says that you should not take the meaning of beginning over here. You should take the meaning of Karanam. So here Adi is equal to Karanam, the cause. So Yasmat Devana Maharshinam Karanam is Adi. That Karanam is I, Ishvara. Right? And what kind of way? Sarvashaha. So Sarvashaha means what? Sarva Prakaraha, in all ways. So here you have to understand, whenever you say Sarvashaha, I mean, in all ways I am the Karanam. What can be the possible understanding? In all ways I am, in any way possible, Sarva Prakarai, I am the Karanam. I am the cause. What does
I
that
am the
mean?
Nimitta Upadana Karanam.
Excellent. I am not only Nimittam, I am Upadanam, I am Parinami Upadanam, I am Vivarta Upadanam, everything I am. Whatever Karanam you can think of, all that I am. So Sarvashaha. Okay. A question is, somebody says, how is it possible that that Hiranyagarbha does not know you? Why is it possible? Because he was not there earlier, and therefore he cannot know him. Right? Just like you would never have witnessed the marriage of your parents. So that origin you don't know. And this is what Krishna is saying. Now, what is the idea of telling us this? That nobody knows me. The idea is that neither the Maharishis can talk about me. They are not qualified to talk about me because they don't know me in totality. Hiranyagarbha himself is not qualified to talk about me because he does not know me in totality. Who is the only person who can talk about me? I, Ishvara. I am the only person who can explain what I am. Right? Now, remember, Krishna is talking to Arjuna. Right?
Yes.
And if you extend that, Ishvara is talking to Jiva. Now, an important point emerges. Is Krishna here, is he Satchitananda Atma? Because by saying that only I can speak about myself, what is he saying? He says, I know everything. Right? Atma, we say, you will find in various Upanishads, Atma is Sarvagnaha, the knower of everything. But remember that Sarvagnaha has to be understood very carefully. When I say that, I'm talking about Ishvara, okay. When I, Ishvara, say that I have knowledge about everything, including this Mithya Jagat, remember that the moment I say I have knowledge, for this knowing, in inverted commas, knowing, for knowing, there must be a Upadhi. Correct? Because only a Pramata can know something about a Pramayam. Only a knower can know something about the known object. And knower means there is an instrument of knowing, the Upadhi. So once he says, I am going to tell you, what should you understand? Is it Atma or is it Ishvara who is talking?
Ishvara.
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 Saguna.
Ishvara is talking because Ishvara has got Maya as Upadhi. So Swarupa of Ishvara is Satchitananda, of course. But he has, in this case, a superimposed nature. So the difference between Ishvara and Jiva is solely on account of the Upadhis. To be a knower or even a speaker or a hearer, there should be Upadhi called Buddhi, mind, tongue, all those things, right? And therefore, whenever we talk about the Vyavaharika Srishti, remember that Ishvara is a Pramata. Whenever it says, I'm teaching, he is a Pramata. The Upadhi is very much there. He is called Sarvagnya for one reason. The Maya Upadhi doesn't really act as a limitation. Remember the translation of Upadhi in English is what? Limiting adjunct. Okay. So that's not really a good translation. What is really an upadhi? What do you remember Atmabodha definition? What is upadhi? Anybody?
We did 1 or 2, 3 points. False transfer of a, let's see, then,
It has to be near.
yeah, proximity, false transfer.
No, 1 second. There is, I'll give it in order.
Mm.
Something which is close to you. Upa.
Mm.
Okay. Upa means close to you. Something is close to you. Because of the proximity, it transfers its attributes as if seemingly transfers attributes to you. And that transfer is a false transfer. These are three items which we saw in Atmabodha. Okay. Now remember that the limitation factor is only the fact that the transfer of attributes is there, right? But the transfer is seeming transfer, false transfer. In case of a jiva, the false transfer has to be understood. In case of Ishvara, he knows the transfer is false. Therefore, the upadhi does not limit him at all, right? And that's why we say avarna shakti does not exist for Ishvara. I hope we are clear so far. Any questions? Okay. I didn't say there was no jnanam, but little bit of jnanam seems to be there. Okay. Verse number 3 now. Yo mamajamanadim cha
Yo
Mamajam Matadim cha
Vitti lokamaheshwaram
Lokamaheeshwaram
Maheshwaram
Sammudha samartyeshu
Asammodasamartheshu
Sarvapapaih pramuchyate.
Sarvapapi Muchyate.
So, first the word meanings. So, that person, martyeshu, among the mortal people, mrityu is death. So, martyeshu, among the mortals, saha, that person, asammudaha, is said to be not deluded, is said to be a discriminative person, subject to one condition. What is that? Yaha. So, yaha is the relative pronoun connecting to saha. Saha, that person, yaha, who, which person, knows me, vettimam, knows me, as what? Ajam, without birth. So that person is supposed to be the non-deluded one among all the mortals who knows me to be one without birth. And not only that, anadim cha, without a beginning, and loka maheshwaram, as the great Lord of the universe. And if he knows me in this manner, what is the benefit? Sarva papaihi pramuchyate. He becomes free from all the papams. Okay. Now, there is one problem. Straight away, it doesn't strike us, but it strikes Shankaracharya. Okay. So, in the previous verse, Adi was taken as what?
Beginning. Karanam.
Adi was taken as Karanam. But here, Shankara says, Mama Anyaha Adi na vidyate. There is no Karanam for me.
Etc.
Here it is beginningless. Last verse, we specifically said Adi means without a beginning, Anadi means without a beginning, and Adi means with a beginning. And if you apply that here, then there the meaning was Adi is Karanam, Anadi means without Karanam. But here, Shankara takes Adi as the other meaning, which is beginning. Therefore, Anadi means beginningless. Right? So, put together those two definitions. One is in the form of the Karanam, cause for the whole universe, and the other is without a cause itself. So, I am the cause of the entire creation, but I am myself without a cause. This is the, when you put both the words together, both the Adis and Anadis together, this is the meaning. And therefore, what? So, Shankara, of course, Krishna doesn't say it. Shankara says, because I am Anadi, that is why I am Ajaha. The word Ajam is here. So that Shankara is explaining. He says, because I am Anadi, because I have no beginning, that is why I have no birth. Therefore, I have no birth at all. In other words, since I have no Karanam, I cannot be a Karyam, a product. Yahavetti, the one who knows me in this manner, as what? Loka Maheshwaram. Loka Maheshwaram means Lokanam Mahantam Ishwaram. Loka stands for Lokanam, among the lokas, of all the lokas. Maheshwaram is broken into Mahantam Ishwaram, the greatest Ishwaram, greatest Lord. So therefore, Loka Maheshwaram is the greatest Lord of all the worlds, of all the universes, all the lokas, the universe. Right? And of course, Shankara cannot resist bringing in Upanishad over here. So Shankara says, this Ishvara is Turyam. Turyam is a word you used in Mandukya Upanishad, which presents Brahman as Om. Okay, so Turyam is free of the three universes, the gross universe, subtle universe, causal universe, and yet Turyam pervades all those universes. Right? Now, this particular aspect I'm telling you for a particular purpose. If you read or study the commentaries of most of the Acharyas, when they explain Bhagavad Gita, they usually rely upon the Smritis only, Agama Shastras, etc., or even things like Puranas and historical texts like Mahabharata, Itihasas, also all they rely upon. But Shankara, he picks up from Smriti. Therefore, what does he do by picking up from Shruti? What is he pointing out? That this Ishvara which you are talking about is nothing but yourself. And that is what he is saying over here. That when he says that Turyam, you have to understand, whenever I say Atma, it is not something different from me. It is I myself. And if I have understood that I am the Atma, what is the benefit? Among all the mortals, I am free of delusion. Saha asammudaha. The Maya has lost its hold on me. And because of that, sarva papaihi pramuchyate. I become free from all the papas. Now again, when you say pramuchyate, remember that we are now talking about this whole chapter. What is the context? The context is Vishwarupa Ishvaraha. And therefore, pramuchyate, papaihi pramuchyate has two meanings. From the context of bhakti, it means chitta shuddhi. From the context of jnanam, it can be taken as moksha. The phrase sarva papaihi pramuchyate becomes free from all the papas. Depending on the context. If it's a dharma shastram context, that means to say it's a bhakti context, it becomes chitta shuddhi. If it is a jnanam context, it becomes moksha. What is the meaning here?
Moksha.
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 What is the chapter?
Oh, no, Chitta Shuddhi. Because
Vibhuti
the delusion thing is being.
Yogaha. Yeah, Vibhuti Yogaha means the glories of Ishvara. That is rooted in duality. Okay, so that's why constantly keep it in mind what is the context. Context is the most important thing in Mimamsa. Understanding what is being said. And if you don't understand a verse, what you should do is look at the verses before it, look at the verses after it, figure out the context, and then take the meaning. Okay.
And
Now,
Acharyaji, had
yeah.
it been moksha, it should have also included punya, sarva papai and punya muchyate. Because not just papa.
So that I agree with, but papam, when you say, I mean, you can take it as papam punyam or punyam when you say, you can take papam and punyam both. It's
Okay.
just karma phalam. You have to take it as papaya as karma phalam, which means, but the point is the context is what Vibhuti Yoga. And because as you'll go on, you'll see. See, the problem with the interpretation is what? That you are on the third verse, but you have not yet seen the other verses. But the commentator knows what the other verses are, and therefore he gives the context. So as you go through the chapter, the context becomes evident that it is Bhakti Yoga. And which is what I told you earlier. I said chapter 10 and chapter 11 are basically for meditation. Upasana Kanda. In that context, it becomes Chitta Shuddhi.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, now we look at the fourth verse. Buddhir jnanama sammohaha
बुद्धिर्ज्ञानसम्मूढः
मोहः
Shama satyam damashamaha
क्षमा
क्षमा
सत्यं
सत्यं
दमः
दमः
शमः
Sukham dukkham bhavo bhavaha
सुखं
सुखं
दुःखं भवो भावः
Ayam cha bhayameva cha.
Bhayam
भयं
भयं च
चाभयमेव च
भयमेव च
So I have to point out, because I heard your chanting, that the Shama and Shama, there are two words, right? Shama before Satyam and Shamaha after Damaha. The pronunciation is completely different. But the chanting I heard was Shama Satyam Dama Shama. What should it be?
क्षमा
Shama. The Ksha. It's not Sha, it's Ksh. Ksha. K has to come in front. Ksha. Ksha. Half Ka and then Ksha. It's a difficult alphabet. Shama Satyam Dama Shamaha. Okay.
क्षमा सत्यं दमः शमः
That is why chanting is important. Right? All of you must come to chanting class. How will you ever know the differences? Okay. Now, here, the flow is that Krishna points out that it is Ishvara alone who is seen in the form of the entire universe. Right? Because universe is matter and consciousness is the jivas also. And Ishvara is consciousness plus matter. Therefore, the entire universe is a mixture of consciousness plus matter, which is nothing but Ishvara. Brahman plus Maya is Anatma plus Atma, matter plus consciousness. And he says that this universe can be divided into two. Bahya Prapanchaha, the external world, which is of course the world of objects, and Antara Prapanchaha, this is the internal world. Internal world is of thoughts. So the entire universe can be divided into two. The outside world of objects. Outside meaning there's always a frame of reference. Okay. So when you say outside, what does it mean?
outside my body.
Outside me, my body, right? And internal means inside my body, in my mind. So outside my body is the objective external world of objects. Inside my body is the subjective internal world of thoughts. And Krishna says, Arjuna, both are born of me alone. It's a very, very important statement. The external world of objects is born from me alone. The internal world of thoughts is also born from me alone. And when he says this, you must remember that Karanam is Karyam. Karanam exists in the form of the Karyam also, right? And therefore, Ishvara exists as the external world of objects. And Ishvara also exists as the internal world of thoughts, which means that whenever you want to see Ishvara, there is no special place to go to. There is no temple you have to go to. There is no Tirtha Yatra you have to go to. Open your eyes, you see the external world of objects, which is Ishvara. So open your eyes and you see Ishvara. Close your eyes, you see the internal world of thoughts, which is again Ishvara. So open your eyes, you see Ishvara and only Ishvara. Close your eyes, you see Ishvara and only Ishvara. Where can you run away to? You cannot be going away from Ishvara at any point of time. Right? Very, very important idea for a meditator. Bhakti Yoga, right? Then, so first he talks about the Antara Prapanchaha, the internal world. And he takes the various aspects of it, which we will see. The first one is Buddhihi, right? Buddhihi, the normal definition of Buddhihi is intellect. But Shankara says no. The Buddhihi has to be taken as, so I'll not give you the Sanskrit words, though they're very interesting. Anyway, has to be taken as the samarthyam, the capability or the capacity of the mind to understand what subtle concepts, which are what? The subtle teachings of the Shastra. So Buddhi is not just the intellect, because you can use your intellect to understand, anything outside you. What food is below before me? Is it strawberry ice cream or kulfi ice cream? All that intellect can understand. But Shankara says, take it as the capacity of the mind to understand very subtle teachings of the Shastra. If you have that, then only you have an intellect. Then only you have a buddhi. And therefore he says, Tadvantaha, whoever has this capacity to understand the subtle teachings of Shastram, Buddhiman iti vadanti. He alone can be called a Buddhiman. A very subtle point. Everybody has a buddhi, but everybody is not Buddhiman. Very, very beautiful point he has made. That only if your intellect functions in a way, you have trained it in a way in which you can understand the teaching of the Shastram, then only you are a Buddhiman. Otherwise, you have buddhi, no problem. Everybody has got buddhi. God has given buddhi to everybody. The next word is jnanam. Okay, so buddhihi jnanam asammaha. Right. So jnanam is what generally we think of jnanam as knowledge. Right. But again, Shankara says jnanam means atma adi padhartha nama avabodha. Atma padhartha adi, etc. So atma, anatma, etc. avabodha, understanding. Shankara says jnanam is the understanding of concepts like atma and anatma. Where does anatma come here? Atma adi. The adi can only refer to one more thing, anatma. Whenever you say atma adi, it is as good as saying atma anatma. Why so?
Because there are only two components, Atma and Anatma.
Yeah.
Because there are only two things, atma, anatma. So adi refers to the other one, anatma, not etc. Other one. So jnanam is the understanding of the atma and the anatma. So let us dwell on this idea a bit. What is the difference between buddhi and jnanam? Buddhi
the
is the
capability.
knowing capacity, capability to know, right? Jnanam is the actual knowing. You see the difference? You may have the capacity, but you may not use it. Difference between buddhi and jnanam is this. Buddhi is the capacity to know. Jnanam is what happens after you have used that capacity. So a person who has buddhi may have the capacity to acquire Atma Jnanam, but he does not have Atma Jnanam because he has not used it. And therefore, the very important idea is the presence of buddhi doesn't mean presence of Jnanam. Buddhi without Jnanam is possible. I'll repeat, buddhi without Jnanam is possible, but Jnanam without buddhi is not possible. Okay, all these ideas we normally don't come across. Only Shankara drives this into our head. He says, you must learn to think. So very nicely put. So we have done buddhi, jnanam. Now you have to break up that third word carefully. Don't say sammoha. It is a sammoha. So buddhi, jnanam, a sammoha. That is the third word. A sammoha is normally moha is delusion. Asammoha means, and sammoha means, so I say moha is delusion, sammoha means complete delusion, asammoha means not completely deluded. Or you can say not deluded. Okay. So, not very clear, right? And therefore, Shankara gives a very nice definition. He says, sammoha, complete delusion, is this asammoha, this is what you call lack of delusion, lack of complete delusion is an activity or a response born out of
Jnanam.
viveka, born out of discrimination, which means it's a deliberate response to a situation, which means there is no impulsiveness itself, right? To every troubling situation, and Shankara adds, these situations can come again and again and again in life. In life, you have a lot of provocative situations coming not once, but coming regularly. And each such situation calls for a analysis, the pros and cons. And once having done the pros and cons, then you frame a deliberate, planned response after having examined all the possible consequences of your response. So that kind of an attitude to a provoking situation is called a sammoha. See what a wide difference between what Shankara says and the normal understanding of non-delusion. Shankara is very clear. If you are asammoha, it means that you respond to life situations, provocations, after a complete examination within the framework of, if possible, ahimsa. Okay? I think I should withdraw my statement that there is no jnanam, right? It's probably a little bit. Jnanam is also there. Okay. Then shama. Now shama is again what is the definition? Tolerance, patience. But Shankara in fact goes brilliant definitions. That's what I'm giving it. Shankara here says shama is not just tolerance. It is the capacity to have equanimity of mind under two situations. When you are verbally abused or when you are physically struck. When somebody beats you or when somebody abuses you, you should have equanimity of mind. That is called kshamaha. Okay, now I've got a question for all of you all. We just defined what is the asammoha. And we defined what is kshamaha. On the face of it, it looks like Shankara is saying that kshamaha means that you should not respond. You should be practicing ahimsa. Is that true?
It says that
No,
it's having capacity, but doesn't say that you will do or you have to do it. So we have a choice to decide that asammoha will give that choice. And this is the quality we have.
Anybody else? All
So
very, very important
it
Malanam
means
questions.
that you examine both the conditions that are mentioned in Shama, deliberate upon their consequences, and then act accordingly.
Very good. Which means that if some, 7 foot 10 inch fellow comes and beats you up, then you think about it before beating him.
Instantaneously. No, it has to be instantaneously.
So you think about it, consider the
Yeah.
consequences,
Yes.
and if you want to hit back, have you considered the
Sure.
consequences or not? So he's not talking about ahimsa. Remember, he's talking about very considered action, not reaction. When a 10-foot guy beats me up, I should not react. I should think and then act. Okay, that is what is meant by Kshama here. And if you want to think, then that equanimity of mind is very important. If your mind is disturbed, you can't think. That is why the Kshama. Before you act, make sure that you have thought properly. It's not to be taken as ahimsa. Okay. Then the next one is Satyam. So Satyam is, now again, Satyam is truthfulness, but Shankara gives a very long, elaborate definition. So he says, when you share something with somebody about an event which you have seen, heard, experienced, then your words should be such that they exactly reflect what you have seen, heard, experienced. Objectively. Your subjective opinion should not be told. Right? So, and that is called Satyam. So he said that if you are telling somebody something, remember to tell exactly what you have heard. Choose your words very carefully so that the idea is what you have actually seen or heard or experienced is communicated as authentically as possible. Okay. Why doesn't he say as authentically as possible? So that the exact meaning in your mind is, I won't say completely communicated. The attempt is to communicate whatever meaning is there in your mind, which is objective. Your subjectivity has not come into the picture. Okay. Why is it important? Because for one thing, subjectivity determines your responses. Right? Now there may be a very cute little kid next door. But if he comes and makes a racket outside a door every morning, especially the time when you are about to go into meditation, what is your view? Subjectivity clouds the fact that he is a 3-year-old. So when you talk about the kid, you may not be talking what you are seeing. We have been talking about what you are experiencing with the subjective curtain of the fact that he is disturbing you. And therefore, objectively, you have to talk, putting aside your subjectivity. And again, I said that you would try to communicate. Remember that you can never ensure that the hearer gets the same meaning that you are conveying. You can never ensure that. What is the best example?
Chinese whisper.
Sorry?
I thought of that.
Chinese whisper.
Chinese whispers. Like
Chinese whisper is one.
embellishments are added to everything that we
No. That is
say
Chinese whisper is
sometimes.
when what you say is repeated further. We are not talking about that.
Yeah.
I am saying that what you say, is it received in exactly the same understanding by the hearer? It cannot be. You can only try to ensure, you can never ensure it. What is the best
Yes.
example? Take Lord Krishna himself, right?
Mm.
How many Lord Krishna was one of the best communicators possible. How many interpretations of Krishna's philosophy are there? There is Advaitam, Shankaracharya. There is Dvaitam, Madhvacharya. There is Vishishta Advaitam, Ramanujacharya. 3 different interpretations of the same teaching by the best communicator in the world. So what I'm saying is that be kind to yourself. Like if you communicate and your student doesn't get it completely, you can explain again, explain again, explain again. Don't ever blame yourself. Very, very important thing for a teacher. And since there are very many teachers in this group, I'll say, please be sympathetic to yourself as a teacher. You can try and try and try. Don't take it as a personal failure. We don't have time to do the rest of it. We still have to go to Dhamma, Shama, etc. We'll do that in the next class. Any questions? Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your
Om Namah
patience.
Shivaya.
Thank you,
Om
Acharya.
Om Om Om.
Acharya.
Thank you.